Hi and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing something slightly different, a bit of work on the Transit Connect van. I've been having a few problems with this where it's showing an ABS fault and a traction fault, and it's showing that it's the front wheel sensor on the scanner, so I think it's actually a wheel bearing problem as well. So we're going to pull it apart and have a look at it and see how we go from there. So first of all, we'll crack off the wheel nuts. Then it's inside the van for the locking wheel nut, and then we'll get the trolley jack out and lift the van up, putting the axle stand underneath for safety, and then we can remove the wheel. So now you can see with the wheel off, here's the ABS sensor which goes down, and you can see it on camera, into the hole down there. That is a new sensor what we put on about 2 months ago. But I suspect that the problem is the actual wheel bearing in this hub here, because the fault is happening when I turn around a right hand corner sharpish and put a load on this wheel. Now, if it was a sensor, I think it would do it all the time, but I think it's the bearing that's causing the problem. The confusing thing is that the wheel bearing has no play in it, but we'll take it apart anyway and see what we can do. So first of all, we're going to take we've got the track rod at the bottom, got that one to take off, and then the power steering track rod, take that one off as well. Take the centre nut. If you'll notice on the video, I've already slackened that centre nut when the wheel was on the floor. Take the caliper off, and then you can split it from this nut here and drop this hub off, obviously pulling the drive shaft out at the same time. So we'll crack on with that. So here you can see removing the nut on the track rod end and the nut on the bottom ball joint, giving them a crack, trying to loosen them off, and also then removing the caliper, which comes off in one piece, does the caliper, not in two like some do, and then hanging it up with a bungee strap. So now you can see it with the disc off and the caliper off. That's the sensor wire going down into the hub, which it picks up on the bearing for the signal, and I think that's where the problem is. So what we're going to do now is take the centre nut off so we can pull the drive shaft out, but the biggest problem I think we're going to have is that bottom ball joint, getting that one off. It's as tight as that one, but once we get that off, then release that bolt and knock this hub off. So we'll see how we're going. So you can see now where I've had to do with the bottom ball joint. I've got the jack underneath to stop it moving up and down, so that should sort of take the shock out of it. If I get one to be cracky and out, it should go. Yeah, that's got brilliant. Now that arm should be free. Yeah. Take the nut off. Whip this centre nut out. That's the drive shaft loose. All we've got to do now is disconnect that bolt. It should knock off. So it turns out this bolt was the tightest of the lot to get out. Here I am using a strong arm and the impact gun, but still so tight. Even had to get a little extra piece of scaffolding tube just to get more leverage on the bolt, but eventually it came out. So you can see now that that bolt's out. It's actually quite warm actually. Took some getting out that with the air gun and the strong arm, even a bit of extra tube on to get it out. So now all we're going to do is take that Little sensor wire out, drop the bottom ball joint off. So now you can see the hub off the van, and I think we might have actually found our little problem. See, what happens is this sensor comes through this hole here and runs on this bearing. It picks up a signal off this bearing. Now looking closely at it, there is actually a crack on that case there. Now whether that's anything to do with it, I don't know. If you think if it's running around here, it's running over that crack, so might be a problem. So the next job to do is take this circlip out, press this centre hub out, press the bearing out, and put a new one in, and build it all back up. So the next job on the Transit Connect is to strip down the wheel hub, which we're going to do. We've got the new bearing for it, which is here. Like I mentioned in the last video, I actually have a magnet in here. You can see it, and that little brown strip is. Look at the other side. Nothing. So that's the side that shows the sensor. And the sensor comes through that little hole there and runs on that bearing. So first thing we're going to do is clean this up a bit. Take this circlip out, press that centre hub out, and press the old bearing out and put the new one in. So we'll crack on with that. So first job was to try and get this circlip out of the groove. It was actually really seized in with rust, so we even tried applying a bit of heat to it, tapping it around with the little punch, trying to get the pliers on it, but it just would not budge, even to the stage where it sheared the end of the eyes off. So with a bit more heat and a bit more persuasion, managed to chisel it out and get it free so we could get to the bearing. Right, so we're now ready to press the bearing out of the hub, but to do that we need a press. So here's this press, and there it is. One press, 1 6-ton press for pressing these bearings off. Available on eBay, I think it was 65 quid. Absolutely brilliant bit of kit. Alright, let's press them bearings off. So here I am using a large socket underneath for support for the bearing to drop through, and small sockets to actually press the bearing into that bigger socket. But I couldn't get enough leverage on the lever, so I actually took the legs off and put it in the vise and pressed it out that way, so I had more support. Right, so now you can see that the bearing's out of the hub. That's what's left of the bearing. Over 6 ton it took to press it out. I couldn't get enough leverage on this bench, so you can see I've actually put it in my vise on the big bench to hold it. But it still took some doing, even had to warm it up to get it out. But it's come out now, so we'll clean that up, put this new bearing in and set it all up for the sensor. So that's the next job. So here I am using a little drill with a little grinding disc in just to clean up all the hole, make sure there's no burrs on it so the bearing would press in without any interference. So here I am pressing the new bearing in, using the old bearing as a tool, and then the big bearing above that, pushing it in so far and then pressing it a little bit more so I can get the circlip in, making sure that when the circlip goes in that it doesn't cover the hole where the sensor comes through. So now you can see that the new bearing's in, the circlip's in as well. What you be careful here is that where the sensor comes through that hole, you've got to make sure that this circlip doesn't cover that hole. So the gap needs to be there, so that sensor can come through there and run on that magnetic strip. So that's in there now, so all we've got to do now is press that centre hub piece in, then it can all go back on the van. Now you can see the setup I've got here for pressing that centre hub in. You've got to be careful. I've got a socket underneath that's the same size as the inner diameter of the bearing, so it doesn't put load on that bearing when you press it in. So that should press in easy now. Shouldn't take that much pressure to push it through. So we'll do that. And that's down. Unfreeling out. Yep. See now, centre hub's in, bearings running free. So that can all go back on the van now. Right, so we're back at the van now and we're ready to put the hub back on the van. And what you can see, that is the ABS sensor. Got a flat spot on that ABS sensor. Well, you can see that. What it does is goes in this hole here. And then when it pushes through, as it comes through the hole there, the bearing runs on that sensor. So we'll put it back together now. It's just a reversal. We took it apart. We'll crack on with that. So it's just a reversal of the process, putting it all back together, putting the drive shaft in first, and then getting it the hub pushed onto the strut, pushing the bottom ball joint on, getting it all lined up. The next job, tighten the nut for the centre for the drive shaft. Again, to start torquing the nuts up as well, and then putting the sensor wire in. Next, on goes the disc, and then on with the caliper. Again, torquing them to the right spec so they're all set up right, and then you can carry on and put the wheel back on. Then you can torque the wheel nuts and the drive shaft to the correct spec. Right, so for the next part of the video, we're going to run the van on the road. I'm going to set up the scanner and see what the wheel sensors are reading when I go around the right hand corner. Now when I did that before, when I went round the right hand corner quite sharpish, all the readings went off, which were indicating that left sensor. So I'm going to set it up again and then we'll run it round. Oh God, look at the colour of me. I'm supposed to be retired. Look at me, I'm filthy. Right, so I'll set that going now. I'll show you how I'll set that up and then we'll give it a run on the road and you'll be able to see the data. Right, so first of all, we'll fire the van up and see whether we've got any ABS lights come on or anything. Yeah, so all the lights are out, so the signal's working. Right, so next we'll go on to the data. So I'll press auto search. Found that it's a Ford. Okay, ignition's on. Right. So what I want to do now is do system selection, ABS, read data stream. So that's live data. If you scroll down now, left front wheel sensor, left rear, right front sensor, so that's all 4 wheel sensors. Click OK. here you'll see the speed. So when I set off, they should all read the same reading, or roughly the same reading. Now when I was going around a left-hand corner, sorry, a right-hand corner, quite sharpish, all that reading would go off. So there was something affecting that reading. So I'm going to see if this works now. Hopefully you can see that data on the left hand side where the speed is all even. It's reading 12, 13, 14 kilometers an hour. So when I come to a stop, they should all go to 0. So they're all working at the minute, so let's give it a test around a couple of roundabouts. Hopefully the scanner doesn't fly off and go everywhere. See at the minute it's at 42 kilometers. So when I come to this roundabout, what was happening is it was all going off. Let's go around the roundabout. All staying good at the moment. Sensors, like you say, you can go up to 81. Well, they're all pretty even, so that means that sensor's working. So when we get to the end of this road, there's a little roundabout. We'll go around that and see if it all goes off. If not, then we fix the problem. That one seems to be giving a bigger signal than the others. Not by a lot. Might even swap that other sensor for the sensor they're adding before. So I expect them to be more even than that. All the others are bang on. Definitely running faster than the others. Whether that's because it's a, well, it's not a genuine part. I might wonder if I'd be better getting a genuine Ford part, presuming that the other three are genuine Ford. That is definitely running faster than the others. What I might do is leave it for a few days, see how we go on. It's definitely not surging like it was before. Speed, it's pretty much the same. Let's give it some round this roundabout. Definitely working now. It's not surging the van at all. So I think we'll leave that. See how we go on with it. If not, I'll swap that sensor out. So that's the end of the little 20-minute video on the little Transit Connect with the ABS stroke wheel bearing fault. I've left it a couple of weeks now and it seems to have sorted the problem. There's no surging on the van, there's no lights coming on, so it looks like it was that wheel bearing that was the problem. So thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, give me the thumbs up button, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video.